What's up, guys? So in this video, what I wanted to show you how to do was paid Manychat broadcasts. And I love doing these because they're a great way to re-engage your audience. They're a great way to restart conversations, and it's a great way to pick up more sales, more calls, more leads that you may not otherwise have. Now, first thing is to keep in mind that with the Manychat updates and the Facebook updates, that now you get charged for how many subs you have and then how many people you send it to. So my suggestion is the first thing you do before you send broadcasts is go in and make sure that you delete anyone who hasn't engaged in the last 6 months. Okay, so what that would look like as soon as this loads is you come in here, start from scratch, go to last seen, before, and then just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you would get rid of anyone who hasn't engaged in the last 6 months. Now, the reason for that is we just seem to see that if someone hasn't taken action in Messenger in 6 months, they never will. That seems to be enough time. That seems to give people enough of a chance to engage. Email lists are going to be a little different. Your free group may be a little different. But in Manychat, I just feel like they've been here so long that they're not going to be able to. So I've already done this. That's why it says 0. But that's the first thing. Now, what we used to be able to do is before Facebook made the changes, you could just send a broadcast from here. The way it is set up now is you really can't anymore. You can only send a non-promotional or a promotional that's in 24 hours. If you try to send one, it will send, but you will get your stuff shut down. I do not recommend it anymore. It's not worth it. So I do what's called a paid message, okay? So I want to kind of show you how a paid message works, how to start from scratch, and kind of some of my results. Now, keep in mind, guys, I have a pretty big list, and I spend, around $400,000, $500,000 at ad spend a month. Next year, we're going to spend closer to $700,000 or $800,000 a month. And with as big as my list is, I'm only spending $500, right? It's not that bad. $600. It's not bad at all. So if on average, I see about $20 for every 1,000 subscribers or so. So that's what you can count. Now, when you start, you're going to come in here and go create new. You're going to go down to an ad account that you can use. So let me choose this one. Okay, so this is one I can use. You're going to give that a second to get selected. And then you're going to come in here. Now, the way it works now is you will send out an initial message, and then they have to click that to get more. So, for example, say, have you been struggling to get leads in your business? Watch the video below. Whatever you want to say, okay? Or you can have a special offer, a coupon, whatever you want. Now, I don't usually add anything more than that. You'll add the button, and then you have two options. You can open directly to your website, or you can go to a flow. So it really depends. I typically open a flow because the issue here is it only gives you 150 characters. So look, that was about 70. You see how fast this goes down? So you can't say very much. And they do that purposely because what Facebook's trying to do is they're trying to say, hey, we got to give people a chance to engage with your stuff. If they don't engage, we don't want to send them the whole message. So just keep that in mind. In terms of labeling, I'll usually just choose the date, okay? And then I usually will pick a flow, and we'll go into how to set flows up in a second, but I usually will just pick it to a flow, and I'm going to select that for now, okay? So now you go to settings. So there we go. That was super weird. It was like I hadn't picked anyone yet. So what we're going to want to do is come in here, and I typically like to do last seen. Now, I am on a 1 to 2 week schedule. I do a blast. So what this means is typically for me and my team, I don't want to send out an automated message to anyone we're engaging with manually because it ruins the conversation. So typically, I have to have at least a 4-day buffer. So I would say here, I wouldn't send a message to anyone before Sunday. So like I'm saying, hey, anyone who hasn't seen a message before or after, the 31st, they won't get it. So this is saying send a message to anyone who hasn't seen a message before, or who has seen a message, before October 31st. So meaning that it gives me that window that anyone who's gotten a message and responded, right, between the 1st and the 6th of November, which is today, won't get it. And that's perfect. And then you just schedule the time. So this is Army time. I typically will choose 9, something like that. Okay? And there's 40,000 people in there. Perfect. So I'll come down here and I'll select. Now, if you want to make it even more stringent, you can choose the location, you can choose the language stuff, but typically it starts to get messy. So I just do last seen. It's easier to go ahead and just delete people you don't want to get it than trying to filter out, okay? So then I click select. It's going to choose all these individuals. Now I'm going to choose a budget. Now, what I found with the budget is, guys, I could put $30,000 and it won't matter because it's not going to spend all that. It comes down to how many subscribers you have and then the bid cap. So the most you can usually do, and I'll show you, is you can do $1,000 bid control. What that means is you have to understand that out of these 40,000 people, they're probably on other people's Manychat lists. So what this is telling Facebook is it's going, Tanner, what's the most you will spend to get one of these subscribers to see your message? And it's always going to be $1,000. You'll see when I go to publish it, it's not going to let me. But I just put as big a numbers as I can because I'm telling Facebook, hey, please send it to as many people as possible. You guys will see that I have about 45,000 active subscribers, but it's only going to send to about half of them. For whatever reason, that's just what Facebook does. So you're not even getting all of them. So you want to get people off your list that you don't want getting your messages. Now, in terms of starting to send, let's say I want to send it tomorrow. Okay, so I pick 10 a.m. Now, here's the tricky part with when to finish sending. If you have a smaller list, like let's say, 30,000 or less I would consider small, and this used to be 70 or 80,000, but I've deleted people. You could have it send and finish in the same day. You could be like, hey, you know what? Start tomorrow at 10 and finish at 5 or 3, that's Army time. Okay? But what could happen is sometimes if all the messages sent at once and people block you, which they will, it's just people are going to do that. That's just what they do. Then Facebook could start blocking your account, and you want to be really careful with that. So instead, what I recommend is that you space it out a few days. So if it's bigger, just space out a few days. And then what it's telling Manychat is, hey, start sending it on Saturday, but you have until Monday to send to all these people. And what that does, it'll space it out. If people are blocking you, Facebook won't freak out and block your account and slap you. One time I sent it to like 70,000 people at once. And I don't think a ton were coming through, but some blocks came through and they like sent me a warning and stuff like that. So I just do it to avoid it because it will annoy some people, and they will. So look, I'm gonna go ahead and publish this, and you're gonna see it's not gonna let me. So $1,000 bid cap, right? So I come in here, put $1,000. This number doesn't really matter. You just want to have it high so it knows Facebook knows that you want to spend money. Okay, so I put $1,000 bid cap, and I do that. So now it publishes. And then the next thing we need to do is go look at our flow, right? Because remember, we connected it to the flow. So if you don't remember, I'm going to show you one more time. We pull up here. Don't want to view on Facebook yet. And we connected this to that flow. So what we want to do next is go to automation, go to flows, and you can either create a new flow, obviously, or I already have one that I have a pre-made template that I just edit whenever I want. So I'll pull this open, and this is my flow, right? And I'll choose other, and I just say, hey, 2 things people have been asking me about lately. I always do an image at the top. I said, 2 things people have been asking about lately. Number 1 is this, number 2 is this. And then the biggest key, guys, is at the bottom. Always put this. Type stop and hit unsubscribe to get out of these messages. If you don't, people will start blocking you instead of unsubbing, and it will shut your account down. Don't be dumb. Put this in every single broadcast you do so that people know what to do to get out. It's like an email. If you don't put it at the bottom, they'll start blocking you, reporting you as spam, and it's going to hurt your account. Okay? Now, there's a few things I'll typically send people to. Okay? Either a call to my group, and then sometimes I'll have an extra training. Typically, you only want to have one call to action, but I have such a big list, and I've tried to switch it up to where sometimes I'll just put multiple things. This was a training video. This was a call to book a call, and this was my free group. Okay? So that is how to set up your broadcast. Now, before I finish up, the biggest thing I want you to be reminded of is sometimes this won't activate. And so what you want to do is you want to pull it up on your Facebook account and make sure that it's published. Sometimes for whatever reason, Facebook doesn't do it. And so what I do is I'll come in here, I'll click edit, and then this button right here should pop up, and I'm going to click publish on it, right? So there you go, and I go boom, and then it makes sure, right? It makes sure that it publishes, right? Super simple. So I hope that makes sense. And then from there, you're good to go. But you just want to make sure that it publishes. I've had times where it doesn't, and it doesn't work. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.